The Kansas legislature overriding the governor's veto there of legislation to ban gender-altering procedures for transgender youth.
The Senate bill prohibits healthcare providers from providing surgery, hormones, or puberty blockers to children who identify as a gender that's different from the sex they were born as. Healthcare providers who break the law will now be stripped of their license. Joining us now to weigh in, Kansas Senator Roger Marshall, member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Senator Marshall, welcome back to National Report. This is a state issue, and I'd like, obviously, from your federal viewpoint here to weigh in on something that hits close to home. The fact that you've got Republicans in the legislature saying no to the Democratic governor here to protect children. What does this mean to you?
Well, I'm very proud of my Republican caucus back in Kansas, both on the House and Senate side. They're standing up to the governor. Look, 90% of Kansans think that letting boys compete in girls' sports, doing transition surgeries on minors is wrong. So this isn't just an 80-20 issue, it's a 90-10 issue. I think we have an obligation, not just as a senator, but as parents, as grandparents, as community members, to protect these children. Think about these surgeons. As you know, I'm an obstetrician. I have a little bit of knowledge what these surgeries might be like. It's setting them up for chronic pain their entire life. They're a very painful procedure to go through as well. It's going to leave them sterile, obviously, as well. The medicines that they use, these hormones, oftentimes leave that boy or girl, young boy or girl, infertile, and often those side effects are irreversible as well. So I think that these young men and boys and girls deserve our love, our compassion. They've got other things going on. They need our support. But the last thing we need to do is give them an irreversible surgery that's going to leave them scarred, pain the rest of their lives as well.
Yeah, and just protections there in Kansas for them. The governor responding, by the way, saying this, quote, "It's inappropriate that the legislature dictate to parents how to best raise their children. It is unfortunate that the first bill the legislature sent me this session is focused on putting politicians between Kansans and their private medical decisions instead of prioritizing solutions to issues like rising prices and the cost of groceries, which would benefit everyone," unquote. And again, just to clarify, I know you're not part of the state legislature, but if you could weigh in on the governor's response. Maybe it's unintentional psyops, but it's confusing, if you will, when you have the governor of the state leading the state speaking out in that way. Your response?
Well, again, 90% of Kansans would disagree with our governor. As a state or a federal government, we require kids to be buckled into their seats, seat belts or in the baby seats. We don't let minors drink alcohol. So regardless of what the parents decide or think, we've decided that no children under the age of 21 should be buying alcohol. Tobacco has an age limit, I think, of 16. So there are times that the state, the federal government have an obligation to protect children. That's all we're wanting to do, is to protect these children from irreversible, painful procedures that they'll suffer from the rest of their life. And obviously they have a psychological thing going on. A super majority of these children, after they go through these processes, have regret that they wish they hadn't have done it. So let's just save us from ourselves, if you will.
Yeah, not to mention, and you point out many times how popular that viewpoint is. It's just common sense. You want to protect young children from making life-altering decisions at such a young age. Let's move to this, though, something else that seems to make sense to some people. The efforts of DOJ uncovering waste, fraud, and abuse within the U.S. government here. There'd been some controversy surrounding Elon Musk, which maybe isn't new depending on which network you watch, but it has to do with that email that he had encouraged, at the very least, about having folks in the federal government respond to things they did the prior week. What do you think about this, Senator Marshall? Is this the best way to approach federal employment here and making sure that those who work for the government and really get paid by the taxpayer are doing a good job?
Well, again, President Trump was elected to make change. We have we spend $2 trillion more every year than we take in, a $2 trillion deficit each year. We think that there are hundreds of billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. I'll start off by saying that only 6% of federal workers in D.C. are working in the office. So I think that this email is part of a multi-pronged approach to trying to sort the wheat from the chaff, to figure out who wants to work. And maybe the supervisor would look at that email and say, well, what has this person done last week? What are they necessary? So as we go through and look, we need to trim and cut the waste. We need to consolidate the different agencies. So I think it's one piece, one tool in the tool shed. If I was Elon, I'm asking him to double down, not go slower, double down. And we're going to correct the pieces as we go along as well. Think about what Elon did with Twitter. He fired 80% of the people when he took over Twitter. He changed the name of it, and now today it's worth twice as much as it was before. So Elon has proved he can do this with large organizations. He has the president's trust. He's working day in and day out with the president. We're going to sit down with him tomorrow and go. And so far, he's implemented a lot of the things I've suggested. Just yesterday, the president instituting transparency for hospitals and what and their procedures was something that we've been working on with DOJ and the president. So full speed ahead. Let's make America great again.
Yeah, we'll continue to watch that. I believe at last check, I think 1 million federal employees responded to that email out of 2.3 million. Remember, some were told that they didn't have to, but we'll continue to watch that. It was also noted that there's an acting administrator, Amy Gleason, now. That's the first time we're hearing this name that is actually heading up DOJ. Again, the acting administrator at this time. That was released by the White House. I just wanted to ask you really quickly and completely pivot to the House and a reconciliation bill. It was quite the night. The bill went to the floor, the framework went to the floor, then it got pulled back, and then it narrowly passes 217, 215. Obviously, you were not a part of that, but at some point, it looks like you will be. Do you support a reconciliation bill? Is there something in there that you say, hey, look, well, I won't pass it unless it has this in it?
Well, look, I think there's a lot to build on. I think we should congratulate Speaker Johnson, Chairman Arrington over there for just getting this across the finish line, showing America that we can do what we said we're going to do. What I like about their bill is all the cuts in federal government spending that it's requiring. Now, I prefer to make the Trump tax cuts permanent, so we don't have to come back in 5 or 10 years from now and have that same fight. But that's the way this is supposed to work up here. We're supposed to have disagreements. We're supposed to take 2 + 2 and turn it into 8. So I think their job in the Senate now is to take what the House has done, congratulate them, and now can we make it better? Can we make the Trump tax cuts permanent? I think the president would be in agreement with that. And I think there's still more opportunities, whether we come back with the second bill or we're able to get it all accomplished here. So look, we're just now getting to the part where it really, really matters. I can't wait to keep working on it.
All right. I like that optimism. Always great to hear from you. Senator Roger Marshall, appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.